Good morning, Michael Rowland in Washington with this special edition of News Breakfast. We are live in the country, if it seems possible, even more divided after the attempted assassination yesterday of former President Donald Trump. The former president, for his part, has thanked his many well-wishers, but he's also keeping to his schedule, heading to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee that is set to officially crown him the Republican Party's nominee. The Secret Service there is seeking to reassure attendees after Joe Biden this morning ordered a sweeping security review as questions continue to mount over how the shooter slipped through the cracks at that campaign rally in Pennsylvania. An FBI briefing in the past few hours says the shooter, named as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, appears to have acted alone and wasn't on their radar. So many questions, so many reactions continuing today. As we said, all eyes are about to turn to that Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We heard from some of the people there about their fears or otherwise about security in the week ahead.
I'm really happy that it's here, and as far as the security measures are concerned, I trust that all that has been taken care of, and considering what happened with the attempted assassination yesterday, I think things are probably even tighter than they would otherwise have been. I hope so.
OK, so that's the Republican National Convention about to kick off later in the week, in fact tomorrow US time. Donald Trump, of course, survived that assassination attempt. 50-year-old Corey Comprador did not. He was in the bleachers. You would have seen those horrific pictures of the shooting happening. Lots of people, as is usually the case, behind the former president. He was sitting there. He tried to shield his other family members. He dived on them, in fact, but was not enough to save his own life. He died in that hail of bullets. He was an avid supporter of Donald Trump and also a volunteer firefighter. And on that front, firefighters who worked with him are paying tribute to a man they are widely describing as a hero.
Truly a good, God-fearing, hard-working man, loved his family. This was the last thing that this man ever deserved.
All eyes will be on the White House, not too far from where I'm standing, Lisa and Bridge, a bit later tonight, our time, 8 o'clock, in fact, in the evening here, 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, when Joe Biden will give an Oval Office address, one of very few numbers of Oval Office addresses he's given in his time as president. He will seek to reassure the nation these are moments where presidents are not so much commanders-in-chief, but consolers-in-chief. We are talking about still, in many parts, a deeply traumatised nation, given the horrific images we all saw yesterday. Joe Biden is once again expected to use the power of the Oval Office, the bully pulpit of the presidency, to again appeal for calm, appeal for those high political temperatures to be damped down a bit, and of course also talking about greater security to protect elected officials and those investigations in the weeks and months ahead. Jade McMillan is at the site of that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and let's go with those investigations. Jade, what is the latest with where they're at the moment?
Well, there's a number of different inquiries underway at the moment, Michael. Authorities urgently trying to get to the bottom of how this could have happened. How could a gunman have found himself in the position where he could have targeted a presidential candidate and a former president in such a violent and shocking way? The latest information we have on the shooter is that he's been identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. He's from Pennsylvania, from a town that's about an hour's drive away from where this rally was held. The FBI is saying that it is investigating this shooting as an attempted assassination and also an act of domestic terrorism, but investigators still do not know what his motive might have been. The FBI says that he wasn't on their radar before yesterday, but they do believe that he acted alone. This has raised such huge security concerns. The President, Joe Biden, has ordered an independent assessment of the arrangements that were in place here yesterday. People attending this rally had to go through security checks, but it appears as though the gunman was able to fire his weapon from a nearby rooftop. So what were the systems in place? Why did they fail? The President has said that he will make the findings of that investigation public. He's also also ordered an urgent assessment of the security arrangements that are going to be in place for the Republican National Convention that gets underway in Wisconsin tomorrow, and we can expect congressional inquiries as well. Of course, as you said, Donald Trump survived this assassination attempt, but there were other victims, a man who was killed, 2 others who suffered serious injuries. The governor here in Pennsylvania paid tribute today to the man who lost his life.
We lost a fellow Pennsylvanian last night, Corey Comparator. I just spoke to Corey's wife and Corey's 2 daughters. Corey was a girl dad. Corey was a firefighter. Corey went to church every Sunday. Corey loved his community. And most especially, Corey loved his family.
Lots of sadness being felt there indeed, Jade, for the family of Corey Comparator and those 2 other victims of the shooting still in hospital. That is by far the key focus. Of course, attentions will turn back to the politics of this in the next week. And what impact, if any, do we expect the attempted assassination of Donald Trump to have on the Republican National Convention and what's left of the presidential election campaign after that?
Well, we'll see Donald Trump take the stage at that convention within days. He'll be officially confirmed as the Republican nominee. This was always going to be a huge moment of Donald Trump's campaign. It's a huge moment for any presidential candidate, but you can expect that will take on a real enormous sense of urgency that will attract a huge amount of attention. The former president had said that he had considered delaying his trip to Wisconsin by a couple of days because of what happened, but he argued that he didn't want the shooter to force a change to his schedule, and so he is headed to Wisconsin as planned. On the other side of politics, Democrats have pulled attack ads from the airwaves. The President, Joe Biden, and members of his party who had been so focused on his political pressures, this ongoing speculation about whether or not he would contest the election, that has been set to the side. Joe Biden needing to step forward in this moment as the Commander-in-Chief. There is blame being thrown around. This was already such a bitter campaign at a moment when US politics, as we know, is so divided. But political leaders at this stage, at least, are calling for calm. We've heard that message come from the President, Joe Biden. We've also heard a message from the Republican House Speaker, Mike Johnson. He argues that this really escalated rhetoric cannot go on, that both sides need to dial it down. I spoke to a woman here earlier, one of the people who was at this rally. She described that chaos, that panic in the immediate aftermath. She said that her husband is in a wheelchair, that she didn't know what to do as everyone crouched down. She just tried to put her arms around him, and she spoke about how terrifying that moment was. But I also asked her about these divisions, how she is feeling in this moment.
I don't know if it can be. It's been dialed up so much and increasingly so that I want to see it, but I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go from here, because I'm not saying I don't want political violence anywhere. Okay, but when you got people, pundits on TV spewing hate, it's going to lead somewhere. It's going to lead for crazy people on either side to do crazy things.
So that was Kim Bentz, Michael, one of the many people who was attending Donald Trump's rally yesterday, and I think one of the many Americans who are still coming to terms with the shock of what happened and also feeling this anxiety about where things could be headed from here.
Yeah, so right. So much anxiety still in this country, understandably. Jade McMillan in Butler, Pennsylvania. Hey, stick around. In about 5 minutes' time, we'll be joined by a former official in the Trump administration who grew up in the Bethel Park, Pennsylvania community. That's the community where the shooter Thomas Crooks grew up, and we'll hear from him about the reaction. He says it's such a quiet, relatively peaceful community, and the reverberations the attempted assassination is having on that small part of Pennsylvania. That conversation coming up, but first back to you, Bridge and Lisa.
Thank you very much, Michael. And in about 20 minutes, we're going to be speaking to the former Australian ambassador to the US, Kim Beazley. So stick around for that.
Well, a royal visit had been rumoured for some months, but now we've got confirmation, Emma.
We certainly do. So King Charles and Queen Camilla have confirmed they'll visit Australia and Samoa in October this year. Full details of the trip are yet to be announced, but it will include events in New South Wales and the ACT, as well as the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa. We'll have more on the story as it comes to hand. New limits on purchasing alcohol for 2 towns in WA's north come into effect today in a bid to curb alcohol-related harm in the Kimberley. Takeaway alcohol sales in Derby are now banned on Sundays and Mondays, with trading hours restricted to between midday and 7 p.m. on the other days. In Broome, liquor stores can only open between midday and 8 p.m. American actress Shannon Doherty, best known for her role in the hit 1990s TV drama Beverly Hills 90210, has died aged 53 following a long battle with breast cancer. Having started as a child star, Doherty also won fame through her role in the long-running series Charmed. Co-star from that series, Alyssa Milano, is among those paying tribute, saying the world is less without her.